morning. My name is Kristen, and I am the Engagement and Communication Specialist here at Elderwerks. I'm happy to welcome Michael and Judy Ublowski on their data breach protection presentation today. Just a reminder that this event is being recorded and we will upload it to YouTube and to Facebook post-presentation. Elderworks is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization, and our mission is to provide seniors and their families with information, referrals, and guidance for senior living, home care, and support services to help them make appropriate decisions. The guidance we provide helps seniors stay at home well or transition into a new senior living opportunity. We provide education on a variety of aging topics for consumers and professionals who work with seniors. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please do not hesitate to add them into the chat and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. But I will go ahead and turn it over to Michael and Judy. Thank you all for being here today.
You could also raise your hand if you know how to do that under the reactions or react button. Again, I'm Michael on the right of my screen, and Judy is my charming wife and co-conspirator on this and other presentations. We've been helping seniors with tech and privacy and security issues since 2020 when COVID struck. And we've been hosting wacky tips on Mondays at Senior Planet from ARP since January of 2022. So we're drawing close to 3 years doing this. You're invited to attend if you wish. There is no fee involved. This is our hold harmless agreement or notice. We just want to let you know that even though we're trying to be as complete as possible, we do encourage you to independently verify any information that's provided before relying on it. I do have to warn you, however, this is going to be an information overload session. We're not going to have a lot of graphics. We're not going to have a lot of music. We're going to talk about some things that you should do because it's a very serious topic. And a lot of people are just not paying a lot of attention to what's going on out there as far as breaches and leaks are concerned and what the jeopardies are out there. As Kristen said, there will be a video recording. We will have a PDF that will be sent out to all participants later on, either today or tomorrow. The reason that it's not sent ahead of time is if I ever have to make any corrections or supplement the material, I want to make sure it's done in one fell swoop. And of course, our help is available and our contact information will be on later on as well as in the PDF. This information is a guideline. It's not all inclusive. And we do encourage you to continue to educate yourself beyond what we talk about today and as new things and as new jeopardies and risks arise out there. Many of the services and organizations mentioned here will attempt to sell you services or products. They may inundate you with emails. We do not recommend or vouch for any of the products or services beyond those that are free. And I want you to note that we do not make any commissions whatsoever if you do make a purchase. Let's first define what a data breach is. That's when somebody gains access to sensitive personal information, and they do this aggressively or overtly. There are other means that are known as data leaks, and just for simplicity, I'm going to use data breach as a catch-all for data breaches and data leaks. There's been so many security risks lately that I cannot even keep up with them. A new one is popping up every day. But the consequences of all of these can be extremely risky to you because it could lead to identity theft, scams, frauds, financial hardships, and emotional distress. And I want to let you know that I have personally been a victim of identity theft. I've spent hours stretching over years trying to resolve the issues. Uh, I still don't know whether it's cleared up because years ago my wife's credit was actually better than mine, so we had to put our cars in her name rather than in a joint ownership. Um, uh, she too, as well as my daughter, has had problems, and my sister has just gone through a big problem with identity theft. So it's rampant out there. If it hasn't hit you, um, there's some steps here that you should take to just help protect yourself, because seniors are prime targets for these data breaches. So last April, we were here and talked about safety and privacy tips on the internet. And we talked about a massive data breach that contained over 20 billion records, all right? And this was supposed to be the mother of all breaches, 26 billion records. Well, that was until this data breach or data leak took place in August, all right? And this was called the National Public Data, or NPD, breach. And this was one of the most significant data breaches in history. There were 3 billion records, and these records are a little bit different than the other MOAB records that were leaked, because it exposed almost 300 million American citizens' records that included names, dates of birth, addresses, your cell phone number, as well as your social security number. And that was not included in the MOAB earlier this year. This is particularly significant because, again, it contains the social security number of almost every American citizen, young and old. It increases risk because it's openly available on the dark web. It was actually exposed earlier in the year, but it was up for sale. And then somebody just put all the information up there for any hacker or any scammer to access to. It makes it easier for criminals to, again, cause identity theft. And its effect is going to last for years, and lead to increases in fraudulent activities. So with your name and personal information, an identity theft thief could do any of these, and I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to, let you scan these for a sec. So regardless of whether your data has been leaked or not, you should take some precautions, because no single tool is going to guarantee your complete anonymity. There are tools that we're going to talk about. I'm sure there are other tools out there, but I've been studying this for several months and have gathered a lot of information. And again, this will be shared with you via PDF. And all the links and all the websites will be included on that. And my philosophy, after spending 28 years in the physical security industry, selling burglar and fire alarms and access control and closed circuit TV systems, is the more obstacles you can put between you and a hacker or a scammer or a con artist, the more likely they're going to seek a softer, easier target to prey on. A friend and an associate came up with this quote earlier in the year when again, the breach happened. And he said succinctly, if you weren't before, now is the time to be extra vigilant. So I know there were a couple of questions in the chat. Judy, did I cover everything that was in there?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pause for a second to see if anybody has a question about what I just went over. All right. So from the January breach, we made these websites available to check to see if your email address had been leaked. And these are all good sites to do that. The last one, Malware Bytes, is a little bit more complicated and they ask for a little bit more information. But if you want to see if your email has been leaked, these are sites to do that on. Two websites have been set up to help determine if your social security number has been leaked. And again, the first one is NPD breach. You're going to have to provide a social security number there. So if you're not willing to do that, go to Pen Tester, and there you just have to supply your birth year and some other information. And word of caution, check all variations of your name. I'm up there as Mike or Michael, and even with a middle initial, check maiden names if you're married and have changed your last name, and check if you've moved from one state to another state, because that information could be different there. But my philosophy is, why bother? Why go through this when I think it's safe to assume that your data has been leaked or it's going to be leaked soon? And therefore, I caution you or advise you to take the following steps. And the first thing, and I think the most important, is to do a credit freeze. And this is something that prevents your account from being opened without your authorization. It can be lifted temporarily. In other words, if you want to go out and buy a car, if you want to do a new credit card, if you want to buy a new house, all you have to do is find out which agency the lender uses, and then you could temporarily unfreeze it. And then once they're finished with their investigation, you could freeze it. You could freeze it again. It doesn't prevent identity theft, but it's a protection in where your data has been leaked with anybody using that, again, to apply for credit in your name. Several agencies you can freeze. I'm going to cover a few of them and the most important ones, but there are many, many out there. The top three are Equifax, Experience, and TransUnion. The first step is, if you have not already set up an account online, you should go there and set up an account. This one is a 4-step process, and you have to give them a social security number. But this is not the end of the road. Afterwards, you must place a freeze on your credit report. Then this is Experian. Again, set up your account. Again, it requires a full social security number, and then you must place a security freeze on the account. This one is TransUnion. You're first going to set up an account. Again, a 3-step process on this one, and they only require the last 4 digits. But it's really important to do all 3 services, because you never know where someplace you're applying for credit is going to use one of those top 3. And then again, you have to add a freeze on your TransUnion account. The next step is you should request a credit report from each one of the bureaus. Print it and retain it. Check it for accuracy. I found errors on mine. I filed a dispute. The one that was the worst was TransUnion. I filed a dispute, they reconciled it, and they still screwed it up. So I had to file a second dispute to clear my records. It had incorrect names. It had an address that was incorrect. So again, this is up to you to go in there and check your information and repeat if necessary. The important aspect is regularly check your reports to see if there's any suspicious or unauthorized activity. And a lot of them are, I think almost all of them are going to send you periodic emails once you set it up. Fraud alerts are, no, it doesn't take months for corrections, Christine. Mine were corrected almost the same day when I did it online. So I think the agencies have speeded this up quite a bit, unless they're overloaded now and you've had recent history with them. Fraud alerts are optional. It helps prevent unauthorized access. They're free. It doesn't affect your credit rating. You only have to contact one of the 3 agencies since they're obligated to contact the other 2. And there are different types of fraud alerts. Any questions? No, you can have both, I believe, a freeze and a credit and a fraud alert. Yes, there's something in the chat about giving a password. Yes, you are given passwords to get in, so you can again check your credit reports periodically. Always write down those passwords. Some of the other agencies that I'm going to talk about also give you recovery codes or recovery emails. Yeah, yes, Equifax was breached a few years ago, and that information was out there. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Michael, I have received an alert from Change Healthcare. Yes, Michael is saying that Change Healthcare had a recent breach. Anything else in the chat, Judy?
Dan is saying you cannot get help with a new password. Is that still true?
You cannot get what? I'm sorry?
Help with a new password.
I don't know what that means, help with a new password.
I think it may be designing the password. I think that's more on your own to design the password.
Unless you use a password manager out there. Oh, Michael's asking, let's open this up a little. Let's open this up. Michael is asking what? About an alert about a grandson? Are you the guardian of your grandson?
No, I am only putting money into his college fund,
Okay.
and I am getting this from Change Healthcare to his address, to his name at my address. Why would that be happening?
Well, somewhere along the line, you're being notified because of the fact that you're contributing without knowing the specific. Who are you getting the notices from?
I'm getting it from Change Healthcare. I got one for myself, and then a week later, I got one for my grandson.
Okay, well, they had a data breach, and I have no idea what they're offering you, but most of the time they offer you a monitoring service that's free of charge, depending on the length and severity of the data breach. And you should take advantage of that. But remember something, it's not going to do anything for you except notify you of problems out there. And our daughter was involved in a data breach with a financial institute, and they set up, they gave her this service for a period of 10 years. That's how significant this data breach was, again, from a financial organization. But I notified her of the data breach before they notified her of this past data breach. So sometimes they're a little slow on the upkeep, although the government requires them to do so. As far as I know, NPD hasn't even sent out notifications as of yet on this breach.
Okay, here's the real question. I
Okay,
only half of the question before. This is Dan. I did credit freeze in 2017. They give you a special password and say, do not lose it. You
right.
cannot get help with a new password. Is that still true?
I have no idea because I've got my passwords in a secure place. I even took Judy's and our daughters and made them write out their passwords to all the places that we registered for, and we put physical copies in our safety deposit box just in case, you know, on any of the password managers that we use, that we lose that or that those files become corrupt. It's really up to you whether you can contact them directly or not and explain what the scenario is. You know what? I have no idea, because guarding passwords is really your responsibility.
Can you have a freeze and an alert at the same time?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
But depending on the type of alert you put in, it's only going to last a year. Anything else?
Dan did the same thing in the safety deposit box.
Yes.
Good. I think that's it.
Dan's asking, is there a master list of all data breaches? I haven't seen one, but if you're interested in that, it's probably going to be overwhelming. Some of the sites, like I've Been Pawned, give you a list of the most extensive ones if you scroll down. But I would probably use a search, some sort of search engine to do that, or even AI, artificial intelligence, if you're interested in that. But it's going to blow your mind, the number of breaches that have been going on out there. In fact, this group that we've been leading from Senior Planet, from ARP, for the past almost 3 years, we've stopped notifying them of data breaches. Every week we have more and more data breaches or data leaks that are going on. How often is it recommended to change passwords? That's really up to you, I think, Michael. I mean, a lot of financial institutions are going to notify you after a certain period of time. And the question is, how are you keeping track? You know, are you using a password manager? Are you using passkeys? We've talked about this at the other presentation last April, and you might go back and review the video on that one. It's going to depend on really the level of security that you're doing right now, and how worried you are about it. So that's something that's more individual and not general that I can comment on. Anything else, Drew?
That's it.
I
All
just
right.
have a question on banks, if you please. You mentioned SafeBox with the hurricanes and the tornadoes down south. Somebody told me if our banks here have to close, that you can't get access to your safe boxes ever again. Is that true?
Ever again?
Banks have to close access? No, I have not heard that at all.
Well, if they're inflicted with the hurricane, that's what I'm assuming you're saying, correct?
Right, but over here in Chicago, we would have maybe a tornado in the suburbs. But if a bank gets destroyed with the tornado, because we just received our notice from the bank that we're due in November. And they said that they're not responsible for any flooding or tornadoes or anything else. But if something happens and the bank does have a catastrophe, can I get into my contents of my safe box ever again?
That's a good question. And, you know, I assume if the bank blew up or was completely destroyed, I think you've got a valid point there. But it also depends on, to me, is how worried does that make you? I'm sure they take a lot of safeguards. And my philosophy is you can't, at one point in time, you could have too much insurance. All right.
Yes.
You're right, Margaret. That's like the first time we did this, people pointed out some things that we hadn't considered, and that's why we continue to investigate that. But that's a very valid concern. But personally, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's my personal opinion.
I did just check with AI, artificial intelligence, on that, and it is saying that, yes, you will lose access to your safety deposit box in severe situation, should have a backup. And I don't know what a backup to a bank would be. We'd have to find that out.
Well, if you have documents in there, I think they're saying that. But if you got money and jewelry and stocks or bonds, kiss it goodbye.
Right.
My feeling has always been, if we fall into Day of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead or something of that nature, I'm not a survivalist, and I'm not going to worry about what's in my safety deposit box.
Mm.
All right, the next steps, because you're not out of the woods yet, are how to and where to go as far as the government is concerned. And I'm going to cover monitoring your Social Security information, locking down your Social Security number, blocking your Social Security number, and there's the difference between locking and blocking. So one is for employment history and one is for your individual accounts, and protecting your IRS filing from somebody filing a fraudulent tax return. And I just talked to a financial advisor, and he actually had his information hacked, and they filed a fraudulent tax return on him, and the government told him he owed them thousands and thousands of dollars. But so these links will be in the PDF and again on the video. So you can monitor your Social Security account at ssa.gov. But if you haven't made a new account at login.gov, or your account was created before September 18th of 2021, you have to get a new login. Then you have to return to ssa.gov. Next, you should check your benefits and payment details. And then you could lock your Social Security number through what's called E-Verify. And this helps prevent identity theft, preventing unauthorized individuals from using your account. It will protect your employment history and tax records, especially if you're still working. It'll give you some peace of mind, and it will control who uses your personal information. It's complicated, but it's worth doing. This is not a 10 or 15-minute process. Again, the steps will be included. You could follow the steps online if you choose to do this. I am including some reference material, reference sites. And you have to know that this is good for 1 year, and you will get an annual notice to renew this. In order to do this, this is a couple of highlights. You actually have to go to the United States Citizen and Immigration Services website and set up an account there. And then you got to create a My-Verify account. And that's a 4-step process. And then you have to self-lock that account. Uh, any questions about that? I know it's a little complicated and I went through it kind of quick. But again, this is meant to be an overview and kind of a how-to step checklist that you're going to be able to take a look at once you get the PDF. So anything else out there in the chat, Jude?
No, there is not.
Anybody want me to pause for a question? All right, let's continue on. Now, these are things that you have to do yourself. These are your individual accounts, and it prevents people from accessing your Social Security information online or through the phone. It's helpful if you suspect that your information's been compromised, and I include the steps. You've got to note that you cannot do this online. You have to call. Sometimes these numbers are tied up, but they may be able to call you back, or just be patient and take the steps that are necessary. This is the information about direct deposit fraud. If you're on Social Security and you're having those checks deposited into your checking account, this prevents people from going in there and changing that information or putting it into their checking account. So any questions about that briefly? Nothing in the chat, you?
No, there is none.
All right. This is a clever one. And if you take a look at the bottom of your tax form from last year, if you haven't done this, there's a place to enter a 6-digit PIN. And what this 6-digit PIN is, it prevents anybody from filing a fraudulent tax return in your name. And I go through the procedure and I'll give you a link as to how you do this. It's only known to you and to the IRS. You should only, you can only use it for 1 year. Each year it's actually regenerated, and you should only reveal it to your tax preparer or to yourself if you are your own tax preparer. This is a reference, again, will be in the PDF if you want to check it out a little bit further. And what you have to do is sign into your IRS account with your ID.me account. If you have not set up an ID.me account, you have to go in there and register in order to get back into your IRS account. Nobody said this was easy. And again, I've got some references as to what kind of information you're going to need and how you can do this, verifying it via self-service. Now, self-service gives you two options. One is to do it by a cell phone, and the other is to do it over the internet via computer, but you need a webcam to do that. I myself, and I think I'm technical, I found a challenge using my cell phone, but I was successful using a video call. Now, Judy, I think you used a cell phone to do this, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Any comments about that?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes.
Oh, no, I thought it was pretty easy, and just took a couple minutes and it was verified.
You do need some sort of identification with a picture on there, like a driver's license or a real ID, because it actually takes your picture and either via your cell phone or via your webcam, and it compares your picture to the picture on your ID. So I thought that was really neat.
Right. You do have to take a picture of your ID.
Okay. So then you return to this site and you follow instructions to complete the PIN. And then you should save that number and again share that with your tax preparer. It's got to be included or they will not allow you to file. Again, it's valid for 1 year if you have not done this before. And if you haven't filed for 2022 and 2023 because of extensions or not filing, then you have to use it for them. And in January 2025, you have to go back on the site starting then and get a new PIN for the 2025 filing. And if you file jointly, you both need separate IP PINs. Any questions about this?
Maybe. Can you have both an ID.me and a login.gov account?
Yes. You need both. Because one's for Social Security and one is for IRS.
Do you, is the IP PIN renewed automatically yearly, or do you have to apply for it?
IRS will renew it. We'll issue a new one. It's up to you to visit the site and to get that information, though. They will not email it to you.
And when will the PDF be available?
Later, either later on this afternoon or in the morning. I'll have it out to Elderwerks today, but I know I can't say how fast that they will email it to the participants.
If the accountant prepares your taxes, what are the implications for the PIN number, et cetera, regarding safety and security?
Well, if he's gonna file it, that's once it's filed, you're on record. So again, if you're using a reputable tax preparer, I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
And Peggy is saying the IRS mails her a letter each year with a new PIN.
Really? Oh, that's great. I hate it because of what's happening with
That in the mail, though.
Yeah, that I hate that, but thank you very much for that. Anything else, you?
Barbara says she authorizes her accountant each tax year.
Right.
How would someone get access to your previous webinar? Webinars, plural.
All the webinars that we've done for Elderwerks were videoed and should be on their channel unless they've taken them down. Christine, do you have any comment on that?
Everything that we record goes onto our Facebook and our YouTube. So if you go onto our YouTube and go under videos, you should be able to find it there.
And how long are they kept, Kristen?
Indefinitely. We do not tend to take them down.
Wonderful.
Anything else, you?
That's it.
All right. Our contact information will be on the PDF. We do classes again on Senior Planet from ARP. In fact, we're doing 2 a week starting next week. One will not be sponsored by Senior Planet from ARP. One we're doing independently of that. We're also available for free consults. And we've got 155 PDFs that are available, and there'll be a list of them concerning security and privacy, included in the PDF if I don't get a chance to review it here, because I never know how long these are going to take or how many questions there's going to be. So there's going to be supplemental information that I will not cover, but will be included in the PDF.
When are the meetings and how would someone get access to it?
Again, that will be on the PDF. If you missed it, it was at our opening slide. I can go back and do that, but again, it's going to be on the PDF, as will this slide, which is our contact information and an appointment calendar for free consult or free Q&A. We have a website with a lot more information, and we're available for other groups and senior living facilities. And this is the additional information that I have here, and is also going to be included in the PDF. I don't think we can get through all of this, but we can give it a shot. But I do want to open up for questions. Any questions before we do this? Are there any particular topics after going through this list that you want me to make sure that I cover today, or field any questions about?
This is Harrison. Can you make sure that you go over another way to get free credit reports?
At the 3 agencies or additional agencies?
The list that you're showing on the screen right now. Second from the bottom, you said another way to get free credit reports.
Okay, I'm not going to recommend that, and it's specified there. It's something that the government talks about, where you can go to a single site and get all 3 credit reports. I went there to see what it was all about, and I didn't like it because you had to give up way too much information there. And the other thing I didn't like about it was, if you actually ask for a credit report at the 3 top agencies, then if you see a dispute, if you dispute anything or you see any errors, you could file a dispute right there with them, which is why I recommend those top 3 agencies. If you look at the 4th from the bottom, this PDF will include 2 other credit bureaus that you should consider. And one of those is called Check Systems. And what they do is they gather information that banks and financial institutions used. You know what? Let me just go to that. Let me stop sharing for a sec. There are a whole bunch of them, and everything depends on your credit history and whether you're subprime or whatever. And I'm not going to get into those. You could find those on a search if you do a search on a search engine. And I do not use the G word, because I do not believe in using the G word as a noun, as a verb. And I do not use that as a search engine. But there are 2 others that are for your consideration, and I think are important. And one is Check Systems, as I said before. And what they do is they specialize in checking and saving account information. And they collect data on closed accounts and bounce checks and all kinds of history. And banks and credit unions use them for opening new accounts. So if you're going to be going out there and opening a new account, this is a great place to freeze your credit on, to prevent anybody, some other organization trying to set it up for you. Some other person trying to set up something in your name. And the other one is ARS, which is Advanced Resolution Services. And why you might consider them is they gather data on approved and declined bank card applications. So they're a subsidiary of Visa. So they're more focused on a different topic than other credit agencies. So again, those are 2. These are a couple of locations that I'll give you as far as videos. And let me go back to that other slide to see if there's any other topics, unless you just want me to try to skim through these topics. Do you want, again, do you want me to try to go through these topics? I don't know if we'll have time to do it all, if there's any other questions. Oh, it will be put in the PDF. It is part of the PDF. And again, if there's anything else that's come up that I have to add there today, I will put that in the PDF, but thus far I have not heard of anything. So, all right. Children identity theft. Somebody, mentioned the fact that they got an email from their grandchild. It matters. You know why it matters? Because Social Security numbers are needed for parents to claim a child as a dependent on their income tax or a guardian. It's necessary to open a bank account, to buy savings bonds, to get medical coverage, and to apply for government services. In fact, when a child's born in a hospital, one of the things that the hospital does is actually give you a form or notice or instructions on how to apply for a Social Security number. Now, the jeopardy is if that Social Security number and that child's identity is stolen, it could take years for anybody to be aware of that, and the damage is already done. And that's a reason, even though it doesn't seem obvious, to prevent this and to freeze a child's credit history, a Social Security number, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we cover this. And again, it's an important aspect. Again, sometimes it's going to take till a child is of age and applies for a credit card or applies for college that some of these things surface. So if your children have grandchildren, advise them of this, or at least bring their attention to this and let them know that it is a potential problem. You can safeguard a child's financial future. And I do a list, I give you a list of what to do. Another thing that arose in one of our conversations when we did a presentation earlier is protecting somebody's identity who's passed away. And this surprisingly is a problem. And I include some information in this link to this article about how to protect identity of somebody who has passed away. This was an eye-opener for me. I didn't even consider this. Here's a checklist of things to do with regard to financial institution and credit cards. I put alerts on all of our financial institutions and credit cards, and some people even laugh at me. I have a $5 alert on a credit card so that I'm notified if anything, if one of our credit cards is used in excess of $5. I've also, and we have a PDF on this as well. We have an account where you can do private credit card numbers if you're banking online. So you issue a single credit card number so that you don't have to divulge your credit card if you're placing purchases online. It happens to be through a credit card that we have, but there are there's other organizations where you could set up accounts and do that. I believe one of them is called privacy.com. So these are all tools that you should be using or at least aware of. This was raised in one of our presentations earlier this year. Somebody filing, trying to get your property deed put into their name. And this actually happens out there. Now, the background image there is of my profile here is Buffalo Grove. We happen to live in the Lake County side of Buffalo Grove, but Lake County does offer what's called a property check, which will give you an alert if anything, anybody tries to go in there and amend your records. the list just keeps going on. Here's a list of some quotes about identity theft. And as I said prior, if you came in a little later, I was a victim years and years ago, and it took me several years to clear it. And even then, a few years later, many years later, my wife's credit at one point in time was better than mine. So we had to put cars in her name. I could not register a car in my name in the state of Illinois because we were trying to finance it back in 2003. And her credit was better than mine. So this does happen, and it can happen. You know, it's happened to everyone in our household. I give you information on how to report an identity theft or fraud to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to the Social Security Administration. You should report it to law enforcement if you're a victim of this. And there's some additional steps. You should go back to the IRS. You should talk to SSA, Social Security Administration. Again, check systems. I went through, and ARS, the videos. This is the thing you asked about, this other free credit report. This actually comes from the Federal Trade Commission about getting them all free. And you can check once a week, I believe, on this. But I don't recommend it because their process is a little overbearing. And this is a list of all the supplemental material that we actually have regarding privacy and security, regarding the data breaches, and it's available upon request. So take a look at it when you get the PDF. And that's all I've got, unless there's any more questions.
If you have more money than time and patience, is there a gold-plated, reliable company that will do all of this work for you?
No.
You're on your own.
I'm sure there's a surrogate that will do it for you. We will provide personal assistance, but do not give up your information, your social security numbers, your passwords, or any of that to people that you don't trust. I would never recommend that.
If your child has a social security number, you should consider obtaining social security earnings report to see if someone has used the number for a job. It will show earnings for each year.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons for signing into the Social Security Administration, setting up those passwords and monitoring your accounts, and especially putting credit freezes, because if they've already got your Social Security number, what's to prevent them from going out and buying a house or getting a loan or getting a credit card?
Exactly. And why wouldn't you put a dollar alert? Some scammers charge an account $1 to check it out for later scamming.
Well, then if they come back to me and give me more, ask for more, then fine. I know somebody who does $1. I know somebody who does 50 cents. I just don't, you know, the responsibility is making sure you've got your credit card. So in our case, if it's Judy or me, and one of us loses a credit card or has a problem with a credit card, we're right there. It's the other aspect is you got to remember something with credit cards or with bank accounts. If they're insured, you're generally not liable for fraud, all right? But it's up to you to notify them if you have a fraudulent activity. And I've had that. I've had stuff on credit cards and even with a bank where they put through erroneous charges, and they've been reversed because you just file a report and they're gone. Is there a reason you're highlighted and no, that's my problem. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm showing that. Go ahead. I had you pinned. Anything else, Jude?
Barbara said she had 3 bogus charges to her PayPal account last month, which they did question and verify with her. none of them made it through to the credit card account. Good job.
Absolutely.
And which place did you use to get your credit reports?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Top three: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
Steve had his debit card cloned and they tested it for $1 charge at a gas station.
I don't like debit cards. Judy likes a debit card, and she keeps track of it by not having a lot of money in that specific
Accounts.
checking account. Why don't you talk about why you like debit cards or what you do with them?
Well, I think debit cards are great if you're going to purchase anything online. You have just if you leave a limited number of dollars in the account, I feel then if something should happen, they won't get anything near what's taking the whole checking or savings account would be. And it's easy to use. You can use it as a credit or a debit card when you go somewhere. And I just feel it, I just like it. It's a lot easier for me.
But now that we've got a higher rebate from Capital One, and I don't know, I'm not trying to push Capital One, but Capital One is one of the credit cards that allows you to generate a private or a one-time credit card number that you could change immediately, all right? And it'll appear if you charge it and you do a lot of online checking of your financial accounts, you can get right online and see that it's been charged right there and then you could change that so it can never be used again. So I'm trying to convince Judy to go to that and to give up her debit card, but especially now that we're getting a nice hefty rebate from Capital One.
Yeah, it's a good selling points.
Selling. Yeah, it's something I'm going to be talking about. We just got, well, what happened was we were on Walmart because, especially during COVID, because we would do number one, their delivery, and then we just started going for pickup service for groceries from Walmart, and they had a Walmart Plus and issued a Walmart credit card that was through Capital One. Well, Capital One is now bought out Discover, and they're consolidating their accounts. And we were sent information saying we can no longer get our 5% online. And I started crying, all right, because I love that 5% rebate. It's almost like, Discover when they do their 5% or some of the other credit cards. And then they sent me a letter saying, oh, you qualify for a different credit card. So we just applied for and just received yesterday a new credit card, and you do have to have excellent credit with Capital One to get their what's called their Savoy credit card. But I went online to activate it yesterday, and they have promotions. It's unbelievable, some of the types of promotions. And again, I don't make any money from this, so I'm just trying to share this information. They're offering 10.5% back on online purchases at Walmart. They're offering 4% back on online purchases at eBay if you happen to go there. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And I always love to share information with people. So you ought to check it out. Right. Any other questions? Well, it's really been nice. Thank you very much. We'll get that PDF out. And if you have anything that comes up, feel free to get back in touch with us.
Bye, everyone.